This is a normal sized coffee, and this is a Sony 200 to 600 f5.6 to 6.3. Today we're going to go over some overview of the specs of this really quickly. Don't want to bore you with anything too technical, and then we're going to dive into some of the photos that I've taken on this lens in the past week. I have shot air shows. I shot Sun and Fun, and that was honestly one of the most amazing times. I got some photos that I am so proud of. I would dare say I got a photo that is top 5 photos of all time, in my opinion, that I've taken. Not of all time and ever, but top 5 photos that I've taken. It is spectacular. I'm an F35 Raptor. Then we're going to go into some sports. I shot a lot of golf with this, and I'm really excited to share some golf with you guys. And I did get some really good photos. I think it was really cool. And then we'll dive into kind of just the overview of everything I did with this. I shot cars with this. I shot, wildlife. I shot the normal stuff. Just went outside, shot with this lens, and I want to show you guys some of the good things, some of the bad things, even though there aren't many bad things about this, considering what this lens is. And I'm really excited. So let's dive right in. So starting off, obviously, we know this is Sony 200 to 600 G OSS 5.6 to 6.3. Now, it is a variable aperture from a 5.6 to 6.3. That's honestly not too bad considering the price of this lens. This is a budget telephoto lens coming in at around $2,000. You can probably find it used for around $1,500. But for a 200 to 600 at a relatively low aperture of 5.6 to 6.3, it's an amazing lens. Sony's other counterparts to these lenses would be their prime lenses, and those are G Master lenses. Those retail for around 11 grand. So you're saving yourself a good chunk of cash, around $10,000 on the average for those lenses. Now, most of those are going to be F4, f2.8, but honestly, it's not worth $10,000. You have an 11 bladed aperture, so the bokeh balls that you get are going to be really smooth. And I've noticed a little bit of a cat's eye in the corners, but it's honestly not that bad. And I personally enjoy cat's eye, so it looks really good. And you guys will see that here in a second. So a 95mm filter thread. Now that is a relatively big filter thread. I personally have never bought filter threads that big. I have shot on the 105mm f1.4 from Sigma, which has 105mm filter threads. But even then, 95mm is big, and your filters are going to be expensive. So your CPOs and your VNDs, all of that stuff are going to be more expensive when you do buy this lens. But it is a 5.6 to 6.3, so I doubt you'll ever need a variable ND filter, maybe just a CPO. So that's kind of a good thing about it, being at that aperture. This weighs around 4.66 pounds, which is around 5 pounds, and although it might not seem a lot, when I was out shooting and when I did shoot for the last 5 days or whatever, it was a little bit cumbersome and a little bit heavy to shoot with. I shoot on the A7IV with a battery grip, and it is pretty heavy. I mean, even using my capture clips is kind of a pain to do just because it does drag that shoulder down that it's on with the backpack, and it is a little bit unusable. So that is a little bit of a caveat. You can shoot it with a monopod, but I think even then a monopod is just way out of what I ever feel comfortable shooting. I hate shooting with monopods, and I feel like they just aren't my style. I'm not mobile with a monopod, and I've never really learned how to shoot with a monopod. So hand holding it, yes, you can, but every 10 minutes or so, you do have to put it down, relax a little bit, let the shoulders rest, pick it back up, and spray away. And this is an amazing lens for just spraying. At Sun and Fun, I took bursts of around 120 photos, just 5-10 second bursts, and maybe 2 or 3 of them out of focus, and that's how I got some really amazing photos. The more outside overview of this lens, it is really nice, I will say that. Obviously it's big, but it's nice. The focus ring is down here on the start, and it's really smooth. I've honestly never really used the focus ring on this lens, but I guess you can. But it is smooth. And then one really amazing thing I do want to talk about is this zoom ring. Now, obviously, this is one of the most important parts of this lens, but this zoom ring is just smooth and the throw is really short. So we're here at 200. and bang, over at 600. So I can just move that with my 2 fingers. And when I'm shooting out there, I normally will have my main hand up on this part where there's nothing. That's where kind of the most majority of the weight is going to be, especially when you have a body on your lens. I feel like holding it as far away is going to give you the most stability. Even holding it in the lens hood is very comfortable to me. But holding it out here, I can hold it and with my 3 fingers, my 2 fingers, just punch into 600 and punch out to 200. And it's so helpful when I'm shooting fast moving objects as in aviation and you know, wildlife sports, stuff like that. Being able to have my hand here and never move it and just punch into whatever I want, and I know it's going to be smooth, I know it's going to be fast, is amazing. So this thing is smooth, it's fast, and it's just a really nice zoom ring. For this lens, I think it's going to be probably one of the best zoom rings that you can get. One caveat I do have of this lens is the tripod collar. You cannot remove the entire collar. You can remove this little thing down here, but when doing that, you are left with this little piece right here. And yes, I know, that's such a tiny little thing to be complaining about, but I do wish that you could remove the entire tripod collar, or at least have it be flush, just because it's more comfy and it feels better. But whatever, I don't know why I'm complaining about that. I just am. Although I do shoot with the tripod collar like 95% of the time, it is just something that I have seen in other lenses, especially from Sigma, that you can remove the entire tripod collar. So to me, that's nice, but to others it might not really matter. Just putting it out there. Another gripe I have about this is the rotating tripod collar. So obviously it rotates, it's nice, but the only way you know that this thing is actually in a locked position, or at least not locked, in a 90 degree, 180 degree, just straight position, is with the dots on it. I don't know if you can tell, but there are dots on this lens, and that is the only way that you can tell if it's straight. There is no way of it clicking into place. There's no like physical haptic like click. It just slides right past it. So you have to line up the dots, tighten it down. Hope when you're tightening it down, you don't move the tripod collar, and it's just a hassle. I do wish Sony would just have put a little bit of a haptic in there just so I know when it clicks into place, and that'd be really, really helpful. But aside from that, you do get a absolutely massive lens hood. I mean, this lens hood is giant, and I guess it's really nice to be able to block a lot of the sunlight because you are shooting midday for basically everything that I did. So having this was really nice to block from lens flares. But the front element, again, is at 95 millimeter, and it's really nice, really big, and so is the back. Obviously, it's for a full frame sensor, so you guys have seen this and know what to expect by now. So that's going to basically be the overview of this lens. Let's get out there, let's shoot, and then we'll bring you back into Adobe Lightroom and take a look at the photos we got on this lens. So let's go. Don't forget the coffee. Alrighty, so we made it back, and we're going to start looking through some of these photos. Now, I did color grade these. I'll show you the raw photos, but I did color grade them. The reason I color graded them is because I don't truly believe that anyone is going to take a photo out of a camera, especially out of an expensive lens and an expensive body, and use it raw. I don't think that's how it is, and I think people want to see what they look like color graded. So I'm going to show you what they look like color graded. I will also show you what they look like raw, but mostly the color graded ones. So let's dive right in. Now, I did shoot a portrait session. I only have one photo from that portrait session just because I don't want to show too much, and I haven't fully released the gallery out to him yet. So let us dive right in. These were taken on the 200-600 f5.6 6.3. Here we are, and we can see that this was shot at 280 millimeters, 1/2000th of a second, ISO 800, f6.3. Now, those settings might be a little bit weird, but that's personally just how I thought it would look the best. 2/2000th of a second, I can pause any motion, especially with a fast-moving horse. And ISO 800 were pretty clear. So this is obviously color graded with my portrait pack, so if you want some of these presets, go ahead and check them out in my website below. But this is the raw photo, and it doesn't look bad. It's really, really crispy clear. It's incredibly tack sharp, and the out of focus regions are just amazing. You can see that up in here, the bokeh looks really good. It's really clean, and there's a good amount of background separation. And you can kind of see where the fall off is of that focus coming up to the horse's eye. You can tell that it focused directly onto my model's eye right here. And you can see that is pretty sharp. So, can you use this lens for portraits? Absolutely. It's not going to be like the best portrait lens. I think the best portrait lens is the 85mm f1.4. Moving on, we did some aviation. Went out to Sun and Fun, and I use this lens a lot, and this is where this lens shines. This lens shines in aviation photography, sports, wildlife, stuff like that, and we will dive into some more sports, but for now we're going to look at Sun and Fun. So, as you can see here, we shot 500mm, still the f6.3, and you will notice that all of my photos are going to be shot at either 6.3 or f8. It is incredibly tack sharp at 6.3. We can zoom in on these gauges, and I mean, at ISO 400, which is the second native ISO of the A7IV, this is just a beautiful, beautiful photo. There's not much to say about it. It's incredibly sharp. The colors look amazing. This is obviously edited, and then this is what the raw looks like. So I did overexpose it, but I brought it back, and it looks amazing. I overexposed it just so I could get the gauges nice and well lit, but it looks amazing. Everything is really sharp, and even this little out of focus region right here on the cockpit, and then right behind the glass is just really, really beautiful. So let's move on. Here we go. We got a little diver. This was shot at 300mm, again, f6.3 and 1/2000th of a second. So this is where this lens really shines, when you're broad daylight shooting. With that high aperture of 5.6 to 6.3, you're not going to be able to do a lot of low light stuff. But when you're midday, push the ISO 400, 800, even 1600 to get a really clean image. And you can push the shutter speed up. This lens shines. You can see that this is just so tack sharp. You can see the little weighted bag down on the bottom of the flag. And this guy is really sharp as well. This is also cropped. So it's cropped in from... Actually, never mind. It's not cropped. This is not the cropped one. I lied. But this is just amazingly sharp. And there is no, like, any serious vignetting. I guess you can see a little bit of vignetting up in these corners. You can kind of see where it's a little bit darker up here in the clouds, and then obviously brighter down here. So there is a little bit of minor vignetting, but that can be easily taken away with some presets and some editing. So really simple. And the colors that you get out of this lens are just miraculous. So moving on, as you can see, these colors are just absolutely gorgeous. So this was shot again at 1/250th of a second, f8, and 547mm. All the settings are going to be over here if you want to take a look at the settings. But f8. Now, this obviously, the shutter speed was a little bit fast. I didn't get to freeze the motion of the propeller, but this looks amazing. We'll go into the original, and even out in a raw format, the color renders are still gorgeous. Obviously, with my preset, it looks a lot better, so make sure you check them out. But you can just zoom in, see everything. You can see the bottles of smoke on his wing, which honestly is really cool. I didn't even know how they did the smoke until I zoomed in on these photos, and I was like, oh, it's a bottle of smoke. But that looks really cool. You can see the pilot right here. You can probably even read his name. Yeah, Nathan K. Hammond. And you can read the crew chief, Alex, maybe not, Johnson, something like that. And aviator Corio. So really, really sharp lens. Honestly, this lens is amazing. Again, you have a little bit of vignetting, but not as much as you do on the shorter focal lengths. So yeah. Here we have a little dual airplane aerobatics. This is going to be a huge test of dynamic range. I'm shooting straight up into the sky, and as you can see, in a raw format, straight out of camera, this looks amazing. Really tack sharp again, and the smoke, everything just looks amazing. Again, at f8, and it's just like, as I'm showing you these photos, there's not much more to say about it. Everything just looks really, really good. Now, let's just skedaddle through some of these. Again, amazing. Looks really good. Presets. Again, looks really good. Looks super duper sharp. Amazing, amazing. Yes, we get it. His name is Rob Holland. Now, my favorite photo of the entire day is coming up, but here's one of them. This photo is gnarly. I love this photo. F8, 512 millimeters. This F35 Raptor, oh, Lightning, not Raptor, is zooming through, just breaking the speed of sound right before this, and then just pulls into a 8 to 9G straight up vertical climb. The amount of vapor on this guy's wings is so sick. It was a humid day, it was a hot day, and that is why we do things like this, because of these photos. This is so sick. I got zoomed into like, I don't know, 100%, 200%, and it still looks like I could crop in maybe to like that, and I'd be extremely happy with a photo like that. So yeah, really good, amazing photo, and I'm really happy. So really good, and you could crop in a little bit if you wanted to, but I like it just like this. And now, my favorite photo of the entire day. This guy right here. F8, 261 millimeters. Again, same settings. This photo is cropped in a little bit, as you can see. It's about, I don't know, 100%, give or take. But this photo is amazing. You already know it's cropped in. And look at this. It is so sharp. Look at the vapor. You can see the vortexes off his wings. And it's just amazing what this lens is actually capable of, and cropping into something like that. So this is the raw photo. We brought it back, got some of our dynamic range back, and this photo is amazing. The autofocus of this lens is so freaking fast. Like, these jets are flying at 700, 800 knots, and to be able to lock onto focus and get a burst of around 10 to 15 frames a second for a good 5-10 seconds in raw photos. They are compressed raw, but in a raw format, and be able to do that and maybe miss 1 or 2 shots is truly amazing. And I cannot say anything really bad about this lens's autofocus. So moving on, another really sick shot. You can see the heat from the afterburner. You can see the vapor going over his wings, and again, just some sick aviation shots. Here's another really sick shot. And then here we did some more rolling shutter stuff. Well, not rolling shutter, slower shutter speed. As you can see, I'm at f11, ISO 100, 1/125th of a second. So the background's nice blurry, and then we got the propellers of this guy nice and spinny. And obviously it's not as tack sharp because it is a much slower shutter speed. I am tracking the airplane's midair, but it is a really nice panning shot. Here is a nice panning shot, f16, 1/500th of a second. Oh, there's a bird. But you can see that the airplane is still sharp. It's not, I mean, as beautifully sharp, just because I am not good at panning shots, but it still looks really good. I would print it out, and the background is just completely gone. So there's the raw. We brought it back. Looks good. Now, here we are into some birds. This was at the beach, and this is still like completely raw. I didn't edit this at all because I do want to show you some of the edits. So we're going to come into my presets, and these presets are really just a baseline. No preset is going to be like the perfect preset for you, but I think what's going to work best is probably the focus set 2 or the focus set 1, kind of depending on what you want. I think the focus set 1 is going to be the best for us, And then we're going to bring up the shadows, make sure we can see that little guy's eye, and maybe a little bit more contrast in there. And boom. In literally like 5 seconds, we have a color graded image. Now, obviously, you would go do a little bit more tweaking with colors, but you can see that we brought out the details in his eye and the details of his beak. And this looks really good. I mean, it's super sharp, 600 millimeters, f8. It's really, really sharp for birds. And this lens locked onto his eye. The autofocus did not leave his eye. As you can see, it's still super tack sharp. In the background, what background? There is none. So f8 looks really good. Little moon shot, 600 millimeters. Settings don't really matter, just f8 as we know that. Oops. Let's zoom in onto the moon here, and you can see that it is just honestly amazingly sharp. I mean, you can see every little crater. You could probably see like aliens if I wanted to with this lens. I don't know why I keep zooming out, but it looks amazing. So I don't know, if you want to do astrophotography with this lens, you can. This was at f8, 1/800th of a second because I was hand holding it, and then ISO 1600. So again, ISO of 1600, and we get a relatively clean image that you could clean up with denoise. But here's a nice little action shot of a wave breaking, sun going down. Looks really good. Not much to say about it. f9, 1/800th of a second, ISO 640. Really cool. I did shoot a concert, and I wanted to show you guys the bokeh and what the bokeh truly did look like. So, sorry, my phone's going off. But you do have kind of more cat's eye bokeh rather than full circles. Now, we'll move on to that golf in a sec. But these are really nice. I still like them. I honestly love the way the bokeh looks. These were little like, what are they called? Like Christmas lights. They were little Christmas lights hung up on a little pillar. So that kind of explains why they're a little bit longer than a perfect circle. But it did render the bokeh really pretty. And that's the kind of raw. I put it in black and white because there's yellow and then just really deep blue. So there was really no saving that without it looking kind of weird. So black and white looks the best. But ISO 12,800. And I mean, we're still pretty clean. Obviously, it's not going to be amazing, but that's really sharp and really clean, and that is definitely usable. The band absolutely love these photos, so that's really good. 250th of a second, 600 millimeters. Stabilization did an amazing job when I'm shooting down at these lower shutter speeds. It's just obviously, as you can see, tack sharp, and there is really no movement, so that's really good. Here we are with some golf, 205 millimeters, say 5.6 because I did want to blur out the background a little bit more, but you can see that this is really sharp. She's wearing Pumas all the way up. You can see the little creases in the dress, or that's the skirt actually, and then all the way up to the top, and you can see little T, every single little hair. This photo is really clean, really nice, and there's the raw, and brought it back, brought the shadows out. If you do want to check out her Instagram, it's going to be Eva's Golf, and then also the clothing she's wearing is Lohala Sports, if you want to check that out. Now, this is a little bit more of an interesting image. This was taken all the way out at 200 millimeters, and it kind of is interesting what the lens did to the shimmers off of the golf club. This was just a little practice shot, that's why the ball is down there, but it's kind of weird how it, like, you know, shimmered off of it, and then there's a good amount of, like, I don't want to say chromatic aberration, but just some, like, weird light stuff, which I think it looks cool. It's not a bad thing. I just think it's interesting the way the sun is shining off of it. And there's the original, and then apply preset, and it looks pretty good. So, moving on, this is a really, really sick shot. You can see just absolutely whacked that thing, sent it out to Narnia. And I caught a little bit of the ball over here. There's the golf ball, and then you can see the tee sitting right there. And I mean, just an amazing shot. I would never be able to hit a golf shot like that, ever. But it's really fun to watch and really fun to photograph. This was shot again at 300 millimeters at f6.3 and ISO 800, 1/2500th of a second. So really fast shutter speed. We had broad daylight. Everything looks really good. The background is really nice and blurred. Again, at f6.3, you're not going to get the best rendering of an out of focus background, but this photo looks amazing. It's incredibly sharp. My focus was locked onto her, and you can even see a little bit of grass flying up. So I'm really happy with this. Again, there's the raw, brought it back just a little bit. And here's just kind of a follow through of that shot. So here's coming out, and then a little bit, like maybe half a second, less than half a second, and you can see kind of the ball over in this area, and she's finishing that backswing. So looks really good. Again, here's the raw, and then we brought back some of that like detail into her beautiful shirt and the skirt. Again, really nice photo. We shot this at 6.3, 1/2500th of a second, and it looks really sharp, really nice all the way through, locked in on that ball flying. Background looks nice. Original preset, nice. Here's a really nice photo. This was taken all the way at 200 millimeters and kind of got like more of a portrait-y kind of session going. Background, again, looks beautifully blurred. She looks amazing. The color rendering of this photo is amazing with the sun coming down and shimmering off of her. Looks really nice, and I just thought I wanted to show you that just to show you the colors that you can get when you have a subject with really good lighting. The final image, this was at, I want to say 600 millimeters, yeah, 1/4000th of a second, ISO 1000, and you can see it's still really sharp and looks really nice all the way through. So yeah, still an amazing lens. There's the original, and then I brought it up and I wanted to show you just how clean these images can be. We just dropped into Lightroom. I hope you enjoyed kind of seeing some of those images. Let me know what you think of the images. If you guys noticed something that I didn't, good or bad, from the lens, let me know. If you want to see more on the 200 to 600, let me know, and I'll definitely get it out to you guys. I do have a couple more videos cooking, and I'm excited to film them and edit them for you guys, so make sure you subscribe and make sure you get those notifications turned on. We are this close to 2,000 subscribers, and I'm hoping we can get there by the end of this month, by the end of April. So help me get there, help grow this SoFlo Adventures. You guys have done an amazing job. In like the last 2-3 months, we have grown over 1,000 subscribers, and I'm eternally grateful for y'all and so blessed to be able to do this and share videos with you guys. So I have a couple videos on some more lenses on the 24mm f1.8, and then also a 135mm f1.8 from Sigma, which I haven't seen a lot on, and I'm really excited to test that lens out. And I'm shooting a wedding with it, so you best believe we're going to get some bangers from that. That video is going to be releasing sometime next week. I'm shooting the wedding this Saturday, which is about 4 days, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. We're also getting into summer. We're going to get a lot more fishing out there, so let's do it. I hope you guys enjoy. As always, peace, God bless y'all, and I'll see you in the next one.